oftentimes, even the positive rewards we give them are dampening their intrinsic motivation.
Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. Today I'm sharing Parent Camp. I taught Parent Camp live January 24th. I wanted everybody on the podcast to be able to hear it because I take you through the 5 steps to get you from corrective to connective parenting. Also, at the end, I talk about a study that we're doing that starts February 5th, 2024. So if you're listening to this after that, you can ignore the end. But if you're listening to this before February 5th, 2024, listen to the very end of Parent Camp because I talk about a really cool opportunity that's happening right now where you can participate in a study that's being conducted on Connect Method Parenting, collecting statistical data and evidence to help show the huge impact that this method of parenting has on families. So the link for that will be in the show notes. If you have questions, reach out. We're here for you, and enjoy Parent Camp. Welcome, everybody. This is Parent Camp, and we are diving into all of the things Connect Method Parenting. My name is Andy Martineau. I have 6 kids. I see some of you here are clients of mine. Welcome. Some of you are fresh faces. It's so good to see all of you guys. So brief introduction. In a previous life, I was a nurse. I've retired from that now, but carry over a lot of things from my nursing career. I have 6 kids, ages 24 to 15. So I have seen a lot of the stages and ages. We're now all the way into adulting kids, and I absolutely love it. And the way I got into parent coaching, it's way back in the day when my oldest was 7 or 8. I was losing my mind. I was about to have kid number 6 because all of my kids are within an 8-year time period. And so I was in the throes of it. My last 2 are only a year and 5 days apart. I know, crazy town. And I was pregnant with number 6. My oldest was at school. I was exhausted. I was losing my mind every day, was not proud of how I was being as a parent. Have you had that experience where you're not loving how you're showing up, but you're not quite sure how to transition into the next thing? Yeah, I'm there. I get it. Yeah, that was me. I was losing my mind. I was always agitated, ready to pounce on the next thing that didn't go the right way. And so this day, I actually had a great morning. Done the laundry, cleaned up dishes, which was an anomaly. And then I realized my toddlers who were home had been suspiciously quiet. And I looked into the playroom. It was a converted 2-car garage off the kitchen. And I looked into the playroom and I saw what my brain translated into the most epic disaster. I now call it the baby powder blizzard of 2007, because in my mind, it was enormous. I actually have pictures of it, and it wasn't as bad as I remember, which is good to document. The facts are important. But in my mind, I was exhausted. It was everywhere. And they did ruin our DVD player. We had just bought a GameCube, the old Nintendo GameCubes. They had dumped baby powder in there. That was ruined. We had a huge love sack that had this fabric that everything clung to, big beanbag. That was covered in white. And I started losing my mind and did my typical thing, started yelling. And then my then 3-4-year-old, he's now 19, he went from, look at this beautiful creation, Mom, to falling apart. And miraculously, did nothing to deserve this, but miraculously in that moment, I had this shift in perspective. And I was able to see who I was and what I was thinking about the situation and what it was creating for my kids, and drop into the moment, calm my nervous system down. Like I said, this was all not because of anything I had done to prepare myself for this. I just had this miraculous moment, calmed down, got on his level, looked at him in the eyes, and was able to acknowledge him and see him and hear him. And the whole thing pivoted. We all were able to laugh about it. We took a picture, had to actually get a real camera back then and take a picture. We cleaned it up quickly, and the relationship was intact. And I was very surprised how quickly it all got resolved. And that moment in time for me
became the pivot that started me on the trajectory of you have got to figure out how to do this on demand. And also came with a startling question of, is that safe to not give them a consequence when they have created such a mess? Is that safe? Is that going to create, delinquents? Is that going to enable them to have bad behavior? And I was really torn. I liked how it turned out that day, but I thought, is this actually sustainable? Is this safe? So my nursing brain went on the hunt. I was like, I want to figure this out. I wanted to deconstruct what happened, but I also wanted to prove to myself scientifically if this was a viable path to go down, because everything in my DNA, everything that I had seen and heard about parenting, everything that I had embodied up to that point said, no, this is not okay. You cannot let them get away with this. They will learn to perpetuate this behavior if you let them get away with it, which in my brain, we all cleaned it up. But in my brain was thinking I was letting them get away with is I didn't add on to that a consequence. And I thought, is that possible to do that? Is that safe? Is that going to help everybody? I have no idea. I started on the hunt. I was like, hopefully I can prove this to be accurate. I needed the data and I found it. And I started implementing it the very best I could. I found scientists, developmental psychologists like Gordon Neufeld, who had devoted his life to developmental psychology and attachment theory with children. And I thought, oh, this is the holy grail I've been looking for. This could work. And slowly and surely, I was able to implement with my kids a way of parenting that wasn't void of cause and effect. We need to have boundaries for sure, or our kids will run crazy and they won't know what to do with themselves and things will just go wild. But a lot of the times what I found out, if I was consistently connecting in the relationship, if I was managing my own crazy nervous system, and if I was able to stay cool in the moment and not lose my mind, which didn't always happen, especially at first, then things went so much more smoothly. And I was on a roll. And our family isn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, solved all the problems and my kids were perfect angels all the time. We're all humans. We're messy. That would be weird. And I would run away if you had somebody say, and this will make everything perfect from here on out. That's not why we're here. We're here to learn. But what it did do was it allowed me to move forward with confidence, feeling capable, feeling calm, and feeling connected. And I was shouting, yes, 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 from the rooftops as I got clear and clear on how to replicate this until finally some friends said, what in the heck are you doing? I had my 11-year-old at the time decide that he wanted to start doing piano. And I had tried to put him in lessons before and he had absolutely refused. And he had found this mentor and he decided to go study with this really hardcore mentor that had studied at Juilliard and was practicing 6 hours a day. And my friends were like, how are you doing that? We can't get our kids to do anything without forcing them to do it. And I'm going to put a little asterisk here. Not every one of my kids did that. But what it did allow people to see was if you create an environment where your kid's nervous system is safe, where they're able to emotionally mature because they're not trying to defend themselves and they're not trying to deal with this back and forth corrective mindset parenting, they are going to be set up to thrive and to find those things that they want in their life and to excel at them, which is what was starting to happen. And so I say that not at all to brag because that really was his thing to go do this amazing piano thing. It was my job to set the container. And as parents, when we are in a corrective mindset, we think we are a sculptor. We see this raw piece of marble, let's say, we'll compare that to the kids, this raw piece of marble. And we're like, that's really rough and it's really kind of ugly. And I better learn how to sculpt this so I can make this into a masterpiece. And if it's not the way I want it to be, they're not thriving, then it's all my fault. And I better smooth off the edges. And we just get into this frenzy because we think that we have to change and mold our children from the outside in. But with a connective parenting framework, that's not what we believe anymore. We know that to not be true. We're like, no, I'm a gardener. And all my kids are mystery seeds that are sent to me. I have no idea what their potential is. I have no idea what they're going to turn into. I have no idea what kind of watering system. Everyone needs a little bit different watering system, a little bit different fertilizer, different amounts of sunlight. And my job is to create an environment where my kids can thrive, where they can fulfill their potential. See, a lot of us have been raised thinking that parenting and discipline are synonymous, that the essence of parenting is discipline, telling our kids what to do or not to do, especially when they don't do something we think they should do. I'm proposing that that's absolutely not the truth. Parenting is creating this environment where they can thrive. Does that look like sometimes we have limits in place? And you'll notice I use the word limits, not consequences, because I promise you, your minds have been conditioned to believe that consequences are punitive, AKA punishments. That's how we typically give a consequence. And I'm not saying you do this all the time, but I would say 9 out of 10 times, typical parents I talk to, they're giving a quote unquote consequence in a very punitive way. Hey, I need to give them this consequence because they yelled at their sister, because they didn't do their homework, because they are out of control and hitting someone. And they give the consequence in an effort to fix the behavior. And I just have to tell you, it doesn't work. Now, temporarily, can you get someone's behavior to alter if you give them an external stimuli, which can be positive or negative? So it can look like a consequence / punishment, or it can look like a reward. Sure, you give that to a child, little child, offer them their favorite treat, you're probably going to be able to manipulate their behavior. Even a teenager, you offer them $1,000 to clean their room, chances are they're going to clean their room. But does it ignite their intrinsic motivation to do that every time? Does it give them the opportunity to decide that they want a clean space? Oftentimes, even the positive rewards we give them are dampening their intrinsic motivation. So it's harder for them to do things for goodness sake, do them because that actually is what they like. Now, are you going to have kids that like it messier? Absolutely. But you know what's crazy is you can have a child that's very clean and neat. And if you start getting into a tug of war with them with your consequence battles, they're going to turn that off. They're going to stop it. They're going to say, no way, Jose, just for the sake of holding on to their own autonomy, holding on to what matters to them. Because as humans, we don't like to be controlled. We don't like to be manipulated. And you see adults now that have a hyper allergic reaction to any kind of control, even if it's not really control, because they are so afraid of this. They went through so many years feeling like they had no ability to make a decision and to be controlled. So let's not perpetuate that in the next generation. A lot of us might have it, and not because our parents were bad parents. I had amazing parents and I love them dearly, yet they were influenced by how they were parented. And so that has been just passed forward. So that leads me to, I know this is super high tech and you're going to just be blown away by it, but I made this little paper. Can you guys see? Is it backwards for you? Hopefully you can see and it's written the right way. So the first thing, maybe I'll hold it like this so you can't see the second thing yet. The first thing is we have to see the water that you've been swimming in, and we have to get the heck out. We have to get the heck out. See, when I was in the throes of the baby powder blizzard, what had never occurred to me at that point was that parenting using correction was not just parenting. I was swimming in the water and didn't even know what water I was swimming in.
If you're new to Connect Method Parenting, I have a great way for you to get started. I've created a free course that covers some of the biggest challenges parents are facing and how Connect Method Parenting solves them. In an hour, we're going to talk about why parenting is so hard, how to get your kids to want to listen to you, how to stop yelling and losing your cool, and become that calm, confident, connected parent for good. It's the fastest way to get started using connection as your go-to tool for influencing and impacting your kids. Go to cmp.works/course to get instant access today.
So we have to see where we are. And a lot of us, we're getting a taste of this. However, we still want to dip our toe into it. Like, I'm going to be really connected and I'm going to be reading to them at night. But, there comes a point where I just have to lay down the law and not let them get away with it. And so then we go back to punitive corrective. Now, if you're afraid by what I'm saying right now and you're thinking, are you saying we just let them get away with everything? Absolutely not, because authoritative parenting and passive parenting are both dysfunctional ways of parenting and cause similar problems in our kids. So I'm not saying passive. I'm not saying let them get away with it. I'm not saying go all authoritative, obviously. I'm saying we're going to go in the middle. It's called connect method parenting. It's what I teach now. It's what I've created. I've written a book about it. I have a podcast about it. If you haven't seen those, go check them out. I have programs. I coach people on it. It's the middle way. It is the way that allows us to bring the best of both sides, the compassion that sometimes we bleed into passivity. We bring the compassion and we bring limits and boundaries, which all children need very deeply. They need those boundaries. They need to know what the rules of the game are. Adults, we need that too. Otherwise, we can feel a little bit out of sorts. So we bring some limits and we marry them together. And it's absolutely magnificent what happens when we can figure this out. Absolutely possible. And it will change the way your children feel, their nervous system, their ability to regulate their emotions. And it will change your ability to feel confident that, and no matter what the kids do, I've got the confidence and the capacity to handle it. Okay. But we can't keep dipping our toe in. If we keep dipping our toe in, then every time we dip our toe back into correction, we're backpedaling. We aren't realizing that we're actually negating and damaging the relationship, the trust, the environment, that environment I was talking about as a gardener, that environment to allow our children to have the best possibility to fulfill their potential. When we dip our toe back into correction, we're going back to sculptor mode and we're taking out those harsh tools, and our children can have this perception of something's wrong with me. They can feel unsafe. The relationship can feel very disconnected. So when I say, as number one here, see the water you're swimming in, which is corrective parenting, and get out, I mean, make a decision that you will not continue to dabble in it. It is not helpful. It is not going to create what you want. It will not serve you. You have to make the commitment. I'm done with it. And I'm going to tell you what to do instead. You're not just going to be left out to no man's land like I was. I made this decision. It wasn't perfectly executed, but I made this decision after the baby powder blizzard. I'm getting the heck out of that water, because I know if I would have gone into a corrective mindset, it would have spiraled into hours of me feeling terrible and crappy that how I had shown up, not being able to respect myself, my kids feeling terrible about themselves. It would not have worked. So we have to decide, guys, right now, decide, hey, I really do want to make a commitment to figure out how to no longer try to control, manipulate my children using external consequences or rewards. They're two sides of the same coin. I used to think, well, I mean, I won't do consequences, but rewards, woo-woo. And I'm not saying you don't celebrate. You can celebrate your children, but you don't want them to do it only for reward's sake. There's a study I was reading that talked about two groups, a control group and a non-control group, I guess is what you call it. So the control group was asked to do a task and then asked to do a second task. That's it. The second group was asked to do a task, given a reward that they actually were a part of deciding. They had some options for them and they chose something they really liked, and then asked to do another task. And the percentage of children that did the second task was higher in the group that got nothing. So if we think that giving a reward is going to help long-term, we are mistaken. It might give us a short-term little win. It's not going to give us the thing we want long-term. So let's be gardeners, not sculptors, and be curious about what our kids need. And don't take it personal when they're messing up. We're there to help them. Just like we wouldn't take it personal if our plants were going through stages that didn't look appropriate. We weren't sure if they were going to turn out. The tomato plant's my favorite example of this. It goes through a phase where the flowers turn yellow and it doesn't look like it's ever going to get to the tomato plant stage. And you could look at that if you didn't understand the cycle of the plant, think something has gone terribly wrong and I probably should just forget about this plant altogether. No recovery. But if you know the cycle of the tomato plant, you know that is just a normal developmental stage of the plant. And that is actually what it needs to have itself go through to get to the next stage. So we have to have faith in the process. We have to trust the process. It's messy. The developmental stages that our children go through, they're messy. They might be lying. They might be hitting. They're going to be doing all this kind of things. And if we can calm our nervous system down and say, okay, in my head, I want to just flip out and I'm taking this personal. But if we are investing in connect method parenting, if we're investing in the relationship, if we're creating consistent limits and boundaries, and if we are able to understand our own mind and calm our own nervous system down, then we are going to be able to be successful at this. Now, will things turn out exactly the way we dreamed they would? Probably not. I had this vision of what I thought my kids would be doing and being. And it's different because remember, we get mystery seeds. We do not know what they're going to be and how they're going to develop and the stages they need to go through. And I have said playfully to myself, so take this playfully, I'll say to myself, if I get all caught up in myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, things are getting out of control, I'll say, how arrogant of me to think I know exactly what my kids' journey is supposed to be like. Just trust the process, Andy, just trust the process. And if we trust the process and we're investing in these three, I call them the three core strategies where we're understanding our own mind, where we are consistently connecting. It's not just hanging out with them, although that's beautiful too, but we're like really intentionally thinking about how do I invest with this relationship. And if we are staying calm and connected, we're choosing to stay close when every single thing inside of us is saying, pull back, or attack, when the kids are having off track behavior. If we can learn the art of responding connectively, you can stay confident with whatever phase they're going through because you're going to be able to navigate it. And at the end of the day, we all have our freedom to choose, but you will know that you created the best possible environment for your children to thrive. But it first comes from a commitment of, I will no longer allow myself to think that correction is going to fix anything. So that is the first stake in the ground I want everyone to have. Okay, number 2. We have to believe there is another option and jump in. So for me, when I think back to the baby powder blizzard, I wanted to believe there was another option. No one was teaching it to me. I didn't know if it actually was available, if it was viable, and I had to piece it together. But I'm going to show you guys that connect method parenting is how I have taken all these components and I've brought them together. And if you just follow a connective strategy, which is completely backed by science, and you lean into connection and attachment, you will be able to move forward and say, okay, I can replace this framework where discipline is the essence of parenting with this framework that I'm a gardener and creating an environment where my children can thrive. That is going to be the trade-off I'm asking you to make today. That will make all of the difference. If you are struggling with your parenting, if you're feeling like the behavior's off track, the connection isn't there, the listening, the eyes rolling, the messes, whatever it is for you, whatever that struggle is for you, if you're in that hamster wheel, this is the solution. We've got to get off the hamster wheel, which is corrective parenting, and get onto connective parenting. And it might feel uncomfortable for a little bit. That's okay. I've started exercising recently in a way I haven't intentionally done before. And there has been some times where I'm like, this is very uncomfortable. I would like to stop now. So anything new that we do is going to be uncomfortable. Expect it. It's happening. It doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. It means everything is going right. All right. Number 3, understand your own mind and find the obstacles. So something that never occurred to me in the heat of the baby powder blizzard until later, or I should say previous to the baby powder blizzard, was to look inside my thought process about my kids. As I reverse engineered the baby powder blizzard, and I would invite every single one of you to think of something that went south recently with your kids, where the behavior was off track and it did not turn out the way you wanted, and reverse engineer it like this, asking yourself, what was I thinking? So for me, as I inspected this event, the baby powder blizzard of 2007, I asked myself, what was I thinking and believing about myself and about my kids as I initially saw the explosion of baby powder? What was that? And I was able to realize that the thoughts were along the line of, this shouldn't be happening. They're so defiant. I'm so exhausted. This is going to take forever. How could they do this to me? I had a lot of that victim-y. How could they do this to me? I was very immature. And I recognized that and I thought, wow, no wonder I was losing my mind. I thought they were doing this to me. I thought this was terrible. I thought they should know better. So of course I would have created this huge disastrous story about my kids. And then I thought to myself, what shifted? What allowed me to say, oh, this is not good. My child is sad and I'm making a huge negative impact on my kids right now. What was that about? And I know what I shifted to is, this is not worth it. This is going to be okay. They aren't trying to make my life tricky. They thought this was really fun. They don't know any better. And I was able to shift from frustration, because our thoughts create a chemical reaction in our brain. It's instantaneous. And then they move us into action. So I was moving into this yelling, consequencing, punitive action, very much about how terrible they were being to me and to my whole flow that day, to ownership and compassion and empathy and understanding. And this has been so important as I think about how this shift starts to happen for us as we're you're jumping out of the water, you're getting out of the corrective water, you're going full-fledged into connective-based parenting framework. We have to understand what's happening in our minds, because we are the directors, we are the gardeners, we are the authority in the house, in the home with our kids. And so if we don't understand what's happening in our mind, then how are we going to shift anything? We can't leave it up to our kids. I mean, our kids are amazing, but they're developmentally not there yet. And they are under us. We are this big presence in their life, and they are relying on us to set the tone. I think of the tuning forks. They'd come and tune our piano with the tuning forks, and how they'd get the note to resonate with the tuning fork. That's what we are. We are the tuning fork. And if we are resonating, if our emotional resonance is one of compassion or trust, or even just acceptance, and I shouldn't have even said just, because acceptance is huge. Acceptance, peace, curiosity, that is the frequency we're resonating. And that is a frequency more of accepting than resisting. But when we're in, this shouldn't be happening, I can't believe they did this again, they should know how to not lie. They should know to do their homework. They should know that and we go into that loop. We are in resistance of reality. And when we fight against reality, we lose 100% of the time. We will not win. We will not be able to create what we want. I used to think, and this happens a lot. In fact, I was just coaching one of my clients this week, and of realizing, I think I need to keep frustration, because if I don't stay frustrated, dinner's not going to happen. And then bedtime's going to be later. There's this conditioning that's taken place where we think we need to hold on to the negativity because we believe the negativity is going to create positive results. Well, what is true is that negative emotions never create positive results. So if you are feeling chronically frustrated, irritated, annoyed, the results that you're going to create for you are going to be reflective of that emotion. I like to think of it as seasoning on a meal. So that's the salt. So if it's a salt of frustration, everyone's tasting it and it sours everything. Oversalted it, it's nasty. But if you're seasoning things with compassion and curiosity, acceptance, that's what the seasoning is flavored with. And it tastes good. People like positive emotions. They like feeling a resonance coming out from us that's, oh, mom's or dad's believes me. Yeah, I mean, she had to set, or he had to set a limit, but it didn't come from frustration. See, emotions are the fuel to our actions. It's directional. It moves us towards a direction. So frustration totally moves me into action. And typically it's powerful and strong and big. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do something about that. And usually I'm not taking any ownership of it. And I'm saying, yeah, you are the problem and you got to fix yourself right now. But if I'm coming from a place of acceptance and ownership, then I'm saying, how can I help this person, this child? They are struggling, they're lying, they're hitting, they're throwing tantrums, whatever the behavior is. How can I help them? And I'm in the gardener mode. Do they need more soil? Do they need more sunlight? And I'm able to feel productive and I'm able to respect myself. And I might need to set a limit, and we'll talk about that. So far, I have challenged you to step out of a corrective mindset. You got to. You can't dabble. I'm really trying to eat healthy right now. And every time I cheat on my meals or I cheat and don't work out the way I want to, it's backtracking me. Same thing with parenting. We cannot continue to play around with it. Then I said, okay, you got to choose to believe that there's another way that's scientifically backed that will allow you to have compassion and firmness as needed. And then 3, you got to understand your own behavior and find the obstacles in your thinking that are preventing you from showing up the way you want to. Okay, so that's the first 3 steps. If you want to stop yelling, you want to get your kids to want to listen to you, you want to be that calm, confident parent, regardless of the situation. Those are the first 3 steps. The fourth step is learn new skills and make a plan. So this is the skills of feeling our emotions all the way through, because emotions are the engine to our maturation. They are the thing that grows us up and helps us to become more fully developed so that we can be there in the trickiest situations that our kids present to us. It is the thing that grows our child's brain up. Did you guys know they've done brain scans of kids, and when they have completely felt an emotion all the way through, and when I say feel it, it's typically looks like going from mad or resisting or frustrated or resisting to, in children, I would use the word sad. In adults, it'd be a surrender or an acceptance. When we can take that trip emotionally, our brains change. And I absolutely love this data because it shows unequivocally that in children, when they make this shift, when they go through this emotional cycle, when they complete the emotional cycle, that their brains change. And that is the path for them to become the most fully developed version of themselves. So we've got to learn how to fully process and feel our emotions. See, emotions are what happen when we have a thought in our mind, and then it makes us have a certain sensation in our body. The feeling part is the cognitive part. It's where we actually allow ourselves to process it, to notice it, to be present with it all the way through. So we have to feel the emotions. We're going to have emotions regardless every single day, but are we feeling them? And the better we get as parents at feeling our emotions, the better we can help our children feel their emotions. So that is a huge skill. We got to understand what is going on in our brain. I teach something called a thought download. We use a steer where we can see, oh, this was a situation, and then I had this thought about it, and then this emotion came up, and then I did these actions and I created these results. So we can see logically what happened by default. Then we go into, what do I want to create intentionally next time? And we have to affirm our nervous systems. This is another skill we learn. We learn to affirm our nervous systems and say, I get you. I get that you want to keep me safe. You see, when we have these reflexive emotional experiences like I did in the baby powder blizzard, it's not because I'm crazy. It's because my nervous system sees that as a threat and I go into fight or flight. This has served humans for a long time. A long time. We have needed this reflex, this instinct to save us from dangerous predators. But a baby powder mess in the playroom, not a dangerous predator. Dirty dishes in the sink, kids fighting in the other room, a bedtime that lasts an hour, not a dangerous predator. And we have to retrain our brain so that we can get to the place where it's not dangerous to us anymore, where we actually are able to calm our nervous systems down and handle that with the most emotional maturity we possibly can muster. We increase our emotional capacity. That is a skill we need to learn. We have to also learn how to consistently connect with our kids in a way that allows us to be with them consistently in a way that resonates and translates to their nervous system. Hey, mom or dad, they're fun. They want to be a part of my life. I teach a whole structure of how to have this one-on-one connection time, how to connect with them during different times of the day, how to create a custom plan, how to intentionally connect with them. Because so often in the rush and hustle and bustle of parenting, we pass paths, we kind of co-mingle with them, but we aren't present in the way that translates to their nervous system. Hey, this is a relationship where I can relax and feel trust. We also have to increase our capacity to allow our kids to process their emotions with us. A lot of us have been taught to just stop feeling that way. Just stop being mad. Just stop yelling. Just stop crying. Just get over it by well-meaning adults who were never given the opportunity by any other person in their life to fully feel their emotions. And so it can be very uncomfortable for us when our kids start melting down or the siblings start fighting or the messes just continue to mount. And we're like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. And then we set this limit. We're like, can't fight, guys. We need to clean up the room. And our kids explode emotionally. And we think, oh my gosh, something's wrong. But you know what's really happening is when we set a limit, it tells our kids' nervous system that it's okay to release any emotional stuckness in their bodies. They're going to purge, but we haven't been taught how to do that. We don't even know that's a thing, most of us. I surely didn't. And so normalizing that and moving towards holding compassionate, sweet space for them so they can go through it. We got to learn these skills. So those are some of the skills. And then coming up with response plans. That's the last one I'll mention. How am I going to really map out responding when there is complete off-track behavior? And we map that out. We've got to make a plan, make an exercise plan, make a meal plan. We need to make a response plan. We need to make a connection plan. Those are important skills that we have to learn. So that is number 4. We got to learn new skills and make these plans so that we actually know what to do to create a new neural pathway in our brain, which is what I'm wanting to have everyone do as we transform the landscape of parenting. It takes intentional practice. You see, we've spent 20 years, 30 years, 40 years practicing certain ways of thinking and being and interpreting the world. So it's going to take practice to decondition those beliefs that the kids should never fight. Logically, we know they're going to fight. But in the heat of the moment, we're like, they shouldn't fight. This makes no sense. Everyone stop right now. We get to this point when we hit our threshold where we crack back into this old way of thinking. We got to have a neural pathway that is so embedded and strong in our brain that even when it hits the threshold, we increase our capacity, we increase the limit of what we're able to hold. And so therefore able to show up even more powerfully with our kids in the worst moments. And I will tell you, the more we're capable of showing up in a connective way when things have completely gone off the rails, the return in the bond and the connection and the safety that our child feels, it's double, triple, quadruple the return on the time investment, on the emotional investment. So we never, if we can, we never want to pass up an opportunity to be there when our kids are at their worst, because then we can deliver compassion, empathy, and limits when they're at their worst. Then their nervous system says, even when I'm at my worst, mom or dad, they're here for me. They got me. They don't question who I am. They know I'm good. They believe in me. And I used to say, and I still say this, your behavior, sometimes I'll say it out loud and sometimes I'm just reminding myself in my own brain, your behavior is not fooling me right now. I know who you really are. You're a freaking amazing human. And this behavior that feels fringy, off track, mean, rude, unkind, it's not you. It's just a symptom that something is not working for you right now. So let me look at the symptom. It's like the plant. I do not look at the yellow flowers on the tomato plant or the wilting leaves on one of my houseplants and make it a personal thing. I'm like, oh, how do I problem solve this to help my plant grow? Same thing with our kids. This is magic. This is magic. So that we need to learn new skills. So we've got to see the water. Hold on my handy dandy signs. See the water you're swimming in, which is corrective parenting, and get the heck out. Believe there is another option. It's called connect method parenting, and jump in. Understand your own mind, your nervous system, your behavior, all of that I'm encompassing in this statement, and find the obstacles, the old stories, the beliefs that are holding you back. Then you've got to learn new skills and make a plan. And finally, you've got to implement and iterate it. It's going to take you some time to practice this new way of being with your kids. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to be awkward. You're going to slip right back into your old ways. You're going to still be fighting your own mind. None of that is a problem. We iterate, we practice, we iterate, we practice. implement, iterate. And eventually you're going to create a new neural pathway. And I tell you, you're going to start seeing glimpses of that. And the more glimpses you see, the more that you will start to feel them come closer and closer together. And you're not going to be perfect. And I'm not going to tell anybody you're going to learn this overnight, but you're going to see the new neural pathway start to become your new default. And that is what I said very last, until you change your default. Okay, these are the steps, the 5 steps to transitioning from corrective to connective parenting for you to be able to stop the yelling, to be able to stay calm and not lose your mind and lose your cool when your kids are having off-track behavior, to be that calm, confident mom or dad that you want to be for your kids, and to do it consistently. Get it to be the new way you are parenting. So I have something very fun to tell you about. This is my mission in life, and I'm committed to getting this out to the world at large. And I've been in the process of revamping everything, because my question was, how do I get this so people can go through these 5 steps as fast, as efficient? I want to make it doable. I want to make it simple. I want to make it where we're seeing all of the results quickly. I want you to start feeling the effect of this right away. And I used to have this CMP master's course. It's amazing, I have to say. However, it's too long for most of us to get through. We have kids. So I have been working tirelessly for a while now to distill it down to the essence. So I've created 8-week parenting pivot, which go through the most important 8 principles that I teach, I feel are absolutely essential to be able to make this transition, to do these 5 steps I just outlined. Now, the other thing, as we were laying out the program, we were like, hey, every single day, I want them to just be able to open the app and say, here's the one thing you need to do today. No guessing. I don't want any time wasted. I also don't want videos to be long. I need to teach principles to you, dive into all the stuff I touched on today into more depth. I need you to be able to have resources to say, hey, I've come up with a response plan for my kids. Am I on track here? Can you review it for me? I wanted to be able to say at strategic moments throughout the 8 weeks, hey, if you are feeling stuck or lost, let's jump on a call with me or one of my team members, and you can bounce things off of them, talk to them about it, get some coaching, and know exactly how to do the bite-sized micro implementations all along the way. So I've created that, and it's starting February 5th. But here's the other thing. I was talking with my team, and I want to document this process for people. I want to be able to track the stats, to create a study. So we are creating a study. We are going to measure, map, document this entire 8-week process with people who are going to go through it. So that's what we're offering right now. And I see some members that are already inside of League here, and I see a lot of you who aren't. This will apply to either of you, and I'll explain how this could work. I need data to show how this transition works. So it's 8 weeks. I call it the parenting pivot. 8 weeks where you get a weekly video and daily implementation, because we have to have frequency and consistency to create new neural pathways. So I wish I could say, hey, it's just 10 minutes a week. It wouldn't work. So it's up to an hour video a week with about 15 minutes a day of implementation. And there will be 4 projects that will sprinkle throughout it. That will take probably 45 minutes. Now, I've tested this with some people and it's worked amazing. However, I need more data. So I'm offering the opportunity for anybody who would be willing to be in the study to participate in the 8-week course. So after the 8-week course, the beautiful framework will be built. However, there's a lot of nuances are helpful to understand. And I've done this before. I've switched out how I've taught this over the years, but after this, we're going to transition to monthly mastery. So obviously everyone gets to choose what they want to do. But the idea is you do the 8-week intense deep dive so you can see momentum quickly. And then you go into the monthly mastery where we take one of the principles that I taught over the 8 weeks or a different one that's maybe a tangent of something that I wasn't able to teach in 8 weeks that needed to be delayed. And we go into that and we spend a month on it. Or you go through the 8 weeks again. If you feel like my foundation isn't quite strong enough, I missed some stuff, I got busy, wasn't able to do all the things, I need to have that strong foundation built too. You can go through the 8-week cycle again. Now, the 8-week parenting pivot will only be offered currently every 2 months. So I'm going to start a group February 5th, which happens to be my birthday. It's the best birthday for me to be able to do that. So we're going to start February 5th, and then another one won't start until April. And there might be a slight week of implementation in between as we evaluate and make changes, because the people who are willing to participate in the study, you're going to be meeting with someone throughout the process, giving your feedback, what's working, what's not working. I had this win, or I'm stuck in this situation. You're going to be giving us feedback, and throughout the whole 8 weeks, we're going to be making those changes as appropriate, so that the next cycle it goes through, we're going to just keep improving it until it is so dialed in that you can tell all of your family or friends that need help, you know what you just have to go through this 8-week pivot. It's already pretty dialed in, but I'm so committed to getting it absolutely to perfection, or as close as possible, that we're going to do this study, and it's going to help me get feedback to make it better, and also document the success path, the progress that someone makes, the journey from corrective to connective. So here's how this works. I am going to put the link for the application into the chat. You have to apply. We have to make sure you fit the criteria to get into the study. Answer all the questions. You have to commit to the 8 weeks. Then you'll hear back from us. We'll either say, thank you so much for applying, but you don't quite qualify, or thank you for applying, you do qualify. Let's jump on a call and make sure we have everything hammered out, and you have all your questions answered, and you know exactly what you're doing. And this will start February 5th. You will pay $100 for the 8 weeks. That's only because I want to make sure people actually commit. If you complete the 8 weeks, we will refund you your $100, because I'm doing this to collect data. So you're going to apply. Then you'll hear back from us. We'll either say, thank you so much for applying, but you don't quite qualify, or thank you for applying, you do qualify. We're going to get on a phone call with you, make sure it's a good fit. Then we'll give you a link to put a $100 deposit. If you finish the 8 weeks, you go through all the things, you'll see it in the application. You have to do 75% of the implementation, watch the weekly video, do the calls 4 times with us to let us know your progress. Then we give you your money back. Now, if you're in league, you have an option, or if you're not in league, this works both ways. If you're in league and you do this, what I will do is, once you've completed the 8-week cycle successfully, if you participate in the study, you'll get a credit. The $100 will credit your ongoing membership fees. So that's pretty cool. If you're not in league right now and you do the 8 weeks and you are loving the progress that you've made, you can apply the $100 to signing up officially. So you get to choose. What is most important to me is that you get amazing results, make this huge transition and shift for you, and that I'm able to have data to support the work I'm doing so that I can help more people. This is very important to me. And that I'm able to share your story, your progress story, with others, because there's a lot of people out there who don't have the confidence that there's another way to parent. They don't see it like I didn't see it doing my baby powder blizzard. So seeing real examples of, hey, this is where I am right now, and here's at the end what it looked like. Here's how I got there. That's what I'm creating out of your journey of going on this with me. So I think it's really exciting. We have a certain amount of people that we can accept into the study at this point. So get your applications in, and we'll get back to you. The $100 deposit is just because it's going to take a lot of time to help everyone get through these 8 weeks. We are investing a lot of resources in this, which I'm happy to do if you put the time in. But what I can't have happen is people say, yes, I'm going to sign up for the study, and then they don't show up and they're not doing the work, or they only go halfway through. So the $100 is your promissory note to yourself of, hey, I'm investing in myself. I believe in myself. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go do the work in the 8-week parenting pivot. It's your commitment to yourself. And then you can either get it back after 8 weeks, or like I said, we can apply it. If you're like, I want to go through the deep dive, or I want to do the 8 weeks again, so it would be helpful to go through again. You can do that again, and we'll apply it to whatever you want, or you can get it back. My commitment is getting out to the masses. And so I need the science and the data and the feedback to make this happen. How much time? Good question. So there's 2 options every week. So there will be a pre-recorded video inside this amazing app that you'll get access to. That video will typically be shorter than the live version. But you're going to have 2 ways to learn the content each week this first round. The video that's pre-recorded is typically around 30 to 45 minutes. There are 2 weeks where it's an hour. I am going to teach that live every week because I've had such a demand for that inside of my group. So I'm actually going to do a live call every week at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. That call will be an hour. So you get to choose. So there's that, the teaching part. The daily implementation is about 15 minutes. It'll be very clear in the app. It'll say, it's just going to walk you through the entire thing. Typically about 15 minutes a day. That's 5 days a week. So say you miss Wednesday, just make it up on Saturday. Or you can do bonus, go the extra mile and do it 7 days a week. I will not be disappointed if you do that because you'll just get better results. But we put 5 days. And then 4 of the 8 weeks, there will be about a 30 to 45 minute project, a little bit bulkier assignment that you will be asked to do that will then be submitted for feedback. And then you'll have the option to jump on at least one coaching call throughout the experience, a 30-minute coaching call. Hopefully I'll have time for all of that. If not, you will get on a call with one of my coaches, but I'm really trying to make time for that because this is such a big priority for me. And then if you're in the study, you're going to have 4 15-minute check-in calls, not with me, with someone else, and he's independent. And you will get just asked questions about feedback. Then we will primarily use the statistics that we're gathering from your progress in the app, as well as bits and pieces of those check-in calls to put together a case study that will be for educational purposes. It will be for possibly promotional to help other people understand what's going on inside the 8-week pivot. So you have to be okay with that. If there is something deeply personal that you don't want shared, we can do that. We can do no names or something like that to keep it more anonymous. That is what the time investment is. Is that clear? On average, to summarize, 30 to 60 minutes of a video, 15 minutes a day of implementation, and 4 projects that will take about 45 minutes. So you're going to have a week where we teach you how to create a connection plan, teach you how to create a response plan. You're going to set up your rules and your boundaries. So those are projects that you're going to create, submit for feedback, and those might take 45 minutes. It could take longer if you wanted, but it won't work if you don't have that created. But we're going to be helping you and giving you feedback. This isn't, hey, go through this course and there's no help. It's go through this 8-week parenting pivot where we're holding your hand every step of the way and trying to ensure and guarantee your success at all costs. All right. So here's the deal too. If you're like, that's really lovely, the study, I love that, but I don't know if I'd qualify or whatever you might have. You can just sign up for League directly, and that would get you access to the parenting pivot too. So if you'd rather I'll put that in the chat too. So link to join League directly is right here. And I'm going to, that's where you can sign up if you don't want to be part of the study. And if you want to be part of the study, put that in here. Here is the link for the study if you want to apply. And if you are listening to this on the replay, I will include it in the email. So look for an email from me. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I love it. And hope to see you guys in either the study, the 8-week parenting pivot study, or just joining us live inside of League, the more traditional way. If you have questions, let me know. If you're applying for this study, try to get it in today or tomorrow. We're going to try to set up calls with those that qualify next week, and then it starts on the 5th, which is a week from Monday. If you're wanting to come into League, you're going to want to do it before the 5th because we're shutting down the ability to join League. This is a slight change. It has just been open, but that's changing. So you won't be able to get back into League or participate in the study. There will be no entrance into League until April. So get in this round. Don't delay it. Your kids are worth it. You can do this. Connective parenting works so much better than corrective parenting. Thanks for joining me today. And if anybody has any questions, just reply to one of the emails that you get from me and somebody will send you a reply. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, come check out League, my Connect Method parenting coaching program, where we take this material and we apply it using my proven formula. Head over to cmp.works/join.